Hi all, welcome to the Hac'KP webinar series. Myself Adarsh Nair, I'm part of the Hac'KP organizing team. Hac'KP is an international virtual hackathon organized by Kerala Police to build solutions for future policing. Today, the official kickoff hackathon coding has been done by Sri Manoj Abraham IPS, who is the Additional Director General of Police and Nodal Officer of Kerala Police Cyberdome. So the hackathon is organized with the help of our partners. So we have SBI and Paytm as our prime partners, Cloud4C as our cloud partner, Beagle Security as our technology partner, and EC Council as our knowledge partner. We can have a short video on our Hac'KP. So welcome back. As part of the Hac'KP, we are conducting a webinar series on various topics based on the current technology trends. Today, we will be having a panel discussion on an interesting and highly sought topic, Bountiful Bugs in Cyberspace. We are going to spend some time today talking about the various aspects of bug bounty programs. Those who are new to the term bug bounty programs, let me give you a brief idea. Various organizations are allowing external ethical hackers or the so-called white hat hackers to identify and report security bugs present in their platforms. Based on the severity and the impact of the bug, the hackers would be awarded with bounties, cash prizes, or Hall of Fame. I want to add my welcome to all of our panel members as well as all the attendees near and far to the Hac'KP webinar series. We are just so pleased to have you join us today. Special welcome to our panel members, Jasmin, Landry, and Anand Prakash, who have already marked their signs in the bug bounty space. We are really thrilled to have you here. I would love to give a brief introduction about our panel members. First, we have Jasmin Landry. He is one of the renowned bug bounty hunter and a white hat hacker based out of Montreal, Canada. Currently, he is a full-time bug bounty hunter and also works part-time as a consultant at Landry Associates. In the past, he was associated with various organizations in the penetration tester role. He's an active member of Bugcrowd and HackerOne platforms and is ranked among top 50 in Bugcrowd. He has already won many recognitions from Microsoft, Facebook, Oracle, etc. Also, he has published many articles on cybersecurity and has given talks at various conferences organized by HackerOne, Bugcrowd, etc. Interestingly, today he is going to be on HackerOne's conference, HactivityCon, to give a talk on the topic beyond the borders of scope. Jasmin, we are extremely happy to welcome you to the panel discussion.
Thanks for having me.
Next, we have Anand Prakash. Anand is a security researcher and CEO of AppSecure Security. He is based out of Rajasthan, India. He is known for finding bugs in some of the world's most popular apps and websites through bug bounty programs. He was ranked one of the top bounty hunters by Facebook, Twitter, and Uber internationally. He has given talks on various cybersecurity related topics at national and international conferences. Anand's reputation as a hacker has led him to being featured in last year's Forbes 30 under 30 for enterprise technology in Asia. Anand, it's our privilege to welcome you to the panel discussion.
Thank you, Adarsh.
Jasmin and Anand, I have given a brief introduction about yourself. If you are willing to share a quick fun fact about yourself, we would love to hear that too. Jasmin, I would love to ask you to go first.
Sure. Fun fact, I've only been hacking for 3 years, and I think I still have a lot to learn. I still feel like a beginner, even though I've achieved some stuff that's quite cool. I still feel like I'm a complete noob, so yeah. Fun fact about
Yeah,
me.
interesting. Yeah, interesting. Thanks, Jasmin. Anand, it's your turn.
Yeah, so I started hacking in 2013, and the most so I found all my critical P0 vulnerabilities only on weekends, not on weekdays.
Okay, that's interesting. So why you choose weekends?
No, so I was involved in a full-time role during the
Uh,
weekdays.
that's the best time for you, right?
Yes, I was working with Flipkart earlier as a security engineer. So I used to learn during weekdays, used to study stuff, and then spend some time during weekends to find vulnerabilities.
Yes, interesting. Okay. Uh, so there is one question in always and in all people's mind. It's something like why ethical hackers are being more interested to participate in bug bounty programs. Uh, it's something kind of they're only looking for a bounty amount or they are aiming for more than that. I would like to hear from you, Anand, first.
So others, your voice is
Anand,
breaking. Yes,
hello, how is
yes.
now?
So yes, it's fine
Yeah.
now.
So
So
I will repeat my question. You heard my
sure.
question, right?
Yes, I heard your question. I can answer that.
Okay. So okay, fine.
Yeah, so basically, when you are an ethical hacker, right? So I started my ethical hacking journey in 2011, and I used to work for small projects during that time. And there were very few resources online for learning at that point of time. So learning was not kind of that much of time. So, for the reasons why ethical hackers attract to bounties are first of all is learning, and the second point is obviously the bounty amount. So, when I find bug in Facebook rather than I finding vulnerability in some project, then finding bug in Facebook is kind of very difficult, or in some other company, because they run quite a good security program internally. They have good big security team internally. They do source code reviews, and they also have external vendors who pen test their applications before making them live to public. And in the end, people like Jasmin and me and other bounty hunters who are trying to figure out vulnerabilities are able to find P0 or P1 priority vulnerabilities. So it takes whole lot of time. It basically needs knowledge of recon. So there are specific skill sets which you can only improve while doing bug bounties. But I cannot compare the technicality level of an ethical hacker and both may be very equally expertise in their own in the same field, but it totally depends on the individual if he is attracted to bounties or not.
Yeah, interesting. That's true because it's more than a bounty, right? So it's a kind of improving our skills.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. So
yes.
Jasmine, we would like to hear from you that what excites you most about bug hunting?
For me, apart from the bounty, like Anand said, and the learning, it's also about the challenge. Like Anand said, finding a bug on Facebook, it's a big challenge. And once you do it, like the adrenaline rush that you get of finding a bug on Facebook is really like satisfying. And also, like, what motivates me to find bugs is also from like protecting companies. Another example with Facebook, we all have our private information on Facebook. If other people can access our information, that's not good. So that means that other people can also access my own information, which I don't like. So finding bugs like that is really like satisfying, because you know you're protecting companies and you're protecting your own self at the same time.
Yeah, right. That's an interesting point. Like we are trying to secure the applications which has an indirect what impact on our lives or our data as well. Right?
Exactly.
That's too interesting. Yeah. So, Jasmin, we would like to know, like, how did you get into the bug bounty programs?
Sure. So I started working in IT about 8 years ago. So I worked as a system administrator, and I didn't really like it much. So I wanted to go in security, but I didn't know where to go in security, because security is like really large, and you can be like you can work in like in the blue team, red team, and not even like hacking side. Like you work in firewalls, all stuff like that. So I did a few certifications related to security, and eventually did the OSCP. And by
Yeah.
having that certification, I got a job in security, which wasn't really directly to hacking, actually. And then shortly after, I started hacking at work. And also had a colleague who introduced me to bug bounty over there. And this is how I started doing bug bounty. This was back in 2017. I had a really rough year, and the first year, I think I only had like 2 bugs where I had bounties. But then everything just launched in 2018, and since then I've been having some success. So yeah, that's how I got into bug bounties.
Yeah, interesting. It's good. Anand, it's your turn. So, what's your motivation for it?
My motivation is mainly learning side of it. The simple example is, if I'm working on some other project, I may end up securing 1 million or 500K user data, but if I'm trying to find out vulnerabilities on Facebook, Uber, I'm directly impacting security of billions of user data. So that is the main thing which motivates me. And the more the difficult the target is, it's kind of very interesting to figure out vulnerabilities.
Same for
Yeah,
me, actually.
that's
Like the harder target,
yeah,
the more fun I have, because it's just more
Yes.
challenging.
yeah. So that means our findings would be directly having an impact on the security of the society as well, right? Rather than a bounty
Yes.
amount or rather than a hall of fame, it's more than that, right? The satisfaction that we are getting through that contributions. That's
It is.
absolutely amazing. Yeah, it's cool. So next one point, like I hope most of the people are seeking the answer for our next question. Where should I start? Or in the case of a beginner, from where I have to start the bug bounty journey? So what are the things that I have to do? From where I will get the resources? Sometimes we are getting a questions from different people like, I'm not from an IT background, or I'm not from a computer background, or not even from a technology background or engineering background. Do I have a place in the bug bounty programs? Okay, Jasmine, your thought.
Yes, I think anybody can get into bug bounty. Bug bounty is not about always finding technical bugs. It's just about finding stuff that affects the business, like finding an asset that shouldn't be publicly available. This doesn't need many technical skills, just doing recon, and you found something that was not supposed to be there, and that's it. You found a valid bug. But of course, having technical knowledge obviously helps, but is not necessary to start off with. And I think a good example of that is the person who won the recent HackerOne live hacking event. He doesn't have an IT background, and he won the event and made over $200,000 in that single day. And it just shows that just by doing recon, you can have a lot of success, and he doesn't have many technical knowledge.
So rather than the background and information, what would be the primary quality that is required, or primary skill that requires for a bounty hunter?
I'd say just like having the mindset of trying to know, trying to get how things work in the background, try to break things, just like have the curiosity of, I wonder how that works. How can I make it do stuff that it's not supposed to? I think that having that mindset is the basics of being a successful bug bounty hunter.
Yeah, that's true. That's a thing. Um, yeah, thanks, Jasmin. Next. So I heard a quote from a successful hacker that for beginning bug hunting, a laptop with a good internet connection and a cup of coffee is enough. Dear audience, these are the words by Anand himself. Let's hear further details from him. Anand?
Yes, so I would like to add a few more points to the earlier question. So first thing is, if you are a student, right, and if you want to get into security industry, cyber security, I would want you to start with basics of programming languages like Node.js. You need to have basic understanding of coding. You can learn Node.js. You should know how backend works, and you can probably connect your code with the database and try to write simple APIs in the very beginning. And then the APIs which you have written, right, you can find vulnerabilities in your own code. For example, SQL injection, logic laws. So there are good resources available online. You can read books like Jasmin, Tester Academy. You can also learn OS top 10. So you can go through each of these categories and try to understand these vulnerabilities by looking at the video tutorials by a lot of security researchers. So in that way, you will end up learning coding plus security that will help you to do a lot of work in security rather than directly jumping into bug bounties, which is, I think, the most biggest mistake which most of new beginners are doing across the world. So you shouldn't directly jump into security industry. You should have some if you have some basic coding expertise, at least if you read the code, if you can analyze it, then that's it. That's very good for you going forward. And apart from bug bounty, you can go into things like incident response engineer, source code reviewer. There are multiple fields in cybersecurity, but these are good enough to start with. Learning should be the main focus. That is what I would like to add. And
So understanding,
yes, sorry.
yeah, go on, Anand. Sorry.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. So basically, the understanding the code logic would be like highly required for a successful pen tester, right? It's highly required, right?
Yes, it's highly required. If you know coding, then you can find out more vulnerabilities than any other person who doesn't know coding.
So for finding a vulnerability in Facebook, this quality is highly required, right?
Yes, I think so. It's my
Yeah.
opinion.
Because yeah, so because I heard the this same comment from different people, like getting a bug in Facebook is not just security knowledge, but we have to understand the right program logic. Then only we will get a right bug.
Yes, so let me give you a very simple example. So let's say it's not just about Facebook, it's all about all other bounty programs as well. So first of all, when you start a target, right, you should understand what backend technology is company is using by looking at the APIs. And if you are able to figure out if company is using a middleware of Node.js, or if the APIs are written in Java, by looking at the API response and request, right, then you can obviously, if you have written coding, if you have prior experience in coding of Node.js, you will be able to do more attacks related to that specific technology. So in that way, it helps.
And
Yeah.
also to add to what Anand is saying, if you've already coded, you know what mistakes the developer has
Yes.
possibly made, so you know what
Yes.
to attack.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. So it's very easy to identify the entry points, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I believe, Jasmine, you had given a talk on something called bad APIs makes hackers happy, right?
Yeah, with the bug crowd
Yeah.
that level up 3, I think, yes.
Yeah. So why these APIs or the endpoints are that much critical in terms of security or the application security?
Because most of the time they interact directly with the backend, and the backend is where
Mm,
the sensitive information is stored most of the times, anyways. Um, so finding bugs in APIs most of the time leads to high impact bugs,
mm,
which obviously rewards are higher. And since it's something that not a lot of people look at because it's not always fun for everybody, I find that it's most of the times there's a lot of bugs in APIs, either for misconfigurations on authorization or just simply
mm,
technical bugs like SSRF, RCEs. They're still there, and because APIs most of the time also they have a lot of change in the code, either on the back end or on the front end. Like they can add a field that wasn't there before, or even with GraphQL, you have a lot of options to look at data which you don't normally have access to, and this can lead to a loss of information disclosures, which can contain PII, which obviously is not
mm.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. So because if you take, if you like go back into past, there are a lot of data breaches happened because of the insecure APIs, right?
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, okay, Jasmine, for the beginners, what would you suggest for the people to start? For example, what platform they are supposed to start? You're suggesting them to start with a platform like HackerOne or Bugcrowd, or you're suggesting them to start with the independent programs like the Google and the Facebook programs.
I
What
would
would you suggest for the
suggest
beginners?
I would suggest starting on both HackerOne and BugCrowd. I think the independent
Mm,
programs like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, because they're big companies, I find that it's harder to start on those, just because they're more mature. Compared to like
mm,
a smaller company that's on HackerOne and BugCrowd, they're not necessarily more mature. They don't necessarily have the technical skills and knowledge in their staff. So the chances of you finding a bug on a program on HackerOne and BugCrowd, I think, are larger than the independent ones. Um,
mm,
and I don't think it's necessary to start with programs that pay directly. I actually
mm,
started with VDP, so programs that don't pay, just because all the good researchers don't look at them. So the chances of
mm,
you finding bugs on them are higher, which means you have
mm,
more. You're more likely to learn on those programs and find bugs. So just to start off, I think it's better to start off with them. Like I said, just for a learning purpose, like Anand has been
mm.
telling us in the start, it's all about learning. So yeah, I think those programs are the best to start off.
Okay, okay, interesting. Thanks. Anand, next question to you. It's about, so normally we are saying the recon phase or the information gathering phase would have that much importance in not only in the bug bounty or in the penetration testing activities as well. So how do you think the recons, the information gathering phase is that much crucial?
Yes, so information gathering phase is the first phase when you start doing bug bounty or trying to figure out vulnerabilities in a target. So let's say target is xyz.com, which is some e-commerce application running e-commerce company. So to figure out vulnerabilities in that target, you need to know what all applications this company is having. If it's an e-commerce company, you should have idea saying there will be a seller panel, as well as there will be a user facing app, there will be Android iOS app, there will be fulfillment app. So these kind of data is very much important for an ethical hacker or a security researcher to know about from the very beginning. So figuring out all the subdomains of a company, figuring out what data of a company, what IP address of a company are public, these should be known. So so a researcher should be able to get them while looking at Shodan, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, all the public sources. And once she has that information, they can basically start figuring out vulnerabilities across the company. They can basically figure out which target will be much easier for them to figure out vulnerabilities in, and which one will be harder. So if you have some extra specific knowledge about the target, what technologies are being used across the company, then that will obviously help them in figuring out more vulnerabilities as compared to others. So recon is the, I think, is the most important phase in the entire cycle.
Yeah, thanks, Anand. Jasmine, can we earn, for example, $100K bounty only using the recon?
I think so, yes. I wouldn't say necessarily 100K single bounty, but as we've seen
Yeah,
in the past with the Apple, but I think getting high bounties is definitely possible with only recon. As a matter of fact, I remember a bug I think last year. I can't explain much. I didn't find it, but the found it, and it's only about recon. So he found an asset that wasn't supposed to be there publicly. It was extremely bad for the business, the company that ran the bug bounty program. But so yeah, so just finding assets that are put on the internet by accident, or where it's been forgotten, or whichever, it's definitely possible to find bugs with only recon. And also, so like with subdomain takeovers, they're often there, and by doing recon, you can just find them really easily, and this easily lands easy bounties.
so the beginners can first concentrate on the recon activities, right? So that will
Yes,
be a good
definitely,
start for them.
definitely. Yeah, there's plenty of tools out there that you can just like literally just run the command. It'll do all the work for you. It'll put the results in a database or whichever. So there's are plenty of tools that do the subdomain recon and more.
Yeah, interesting. Good. Uh, Jasmine, could you tell about the first bug that you reported?
Ironically, to what I said earlier, it was actually Microsoft. I suggested on Facebook, but it was a stored XSS on the mailing application. So it was a kind of like a weird bug. I had to. It was like a reflected XSS. That eventually got stored, but anyway, it was by accident. Kind of. I had put my XSS payload. I think it was like in December of 2016, something like that. When I didn't even know what I was doing. And then the next time I logged into my account, which was like in February of the following year, I noticed that my XSS just popped. I was like, what? What is this? Did someone hack me? I forgot that I actually put that payload in the first place. So then I realized that, yeah, I did that a few months ago, and I remembered. But then trying to reproduce it was like I had a hard time doing it. So then I eventually figured it out. I got my bounty for the next, I think 2 months later. And so yeah, that was the first bug. And I only found my next bug like 6 months after. Since I still didn't know what I was doing. So I spent most of that year just trying to learn as much as possible. I read all the write-ups that I could to eventually have success the following year.
So from that cross-site scripting, you started your journey, right?
Yeah, so as my first bug, I had like an adrenaline rush with finding a bug on Microsoft by accident. And then, like, since I just loved it, I tried to hack some more, but I was just awful. I was really bad. I didn't know what I was doing, so I didn't find many more bugs. So, like I said, I spent most of that year trying to learn as much as I could, and to eventually have success, and which has led to this.
So now most of the organizations having their own very strong security teams, right? So
Yeah,
getting a bug is also very challenging, right?
it is. Yeah, it takes a lot of hard work, and I think I could probably lost sleepless nights and long days of just trying to hack and not finding any bugs. It takes a lot of work.
Okay.
People think that bug bounty is an easy way to get money. It's not. A year of looking for bugs and only find like 2 bugs. It just shows that it's not easy to get into, and a lot of work.
Yeah. So awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Jasmine. Yeah, Anand. So next question to
Yes.
you. So do you still have access to Facebook CEO's Facebook account?
No, no.
Hey man, so we would like to hear from you about the bugs that you reported to Facebook, which will allow anyone to get into anyone's account. Could you
Yes,
please
so
share your experience on it? Yeah.
yes, so there have been multiple bugs like that, but I would like to share a bug, which was very easy. So when you log in into Facebook, right, and if you have forgot your password, you get an OTP. So I did recon, and I figured out a subdomain saying beta.facebook.com, which was pointing to the production database of Facebook, and that domain was interestingly missing rate limiting on the OTP enter endpoint. So this was one of the simplest bug, and to be very frank, in last 4, 5, 7 years of my testing, I never tried that one on Facebook because I thought it's going to be secure.
Secure.
And yes, and that bug did not existed on Facebook.com. It existed on
Mm,
beta.facebook.com, and it allowed me
mm,
to brute force OTPs. And at that point of time, the expiry time for OTPs were 7 days. So it becomes very easier for an attacker to brute force the OTP. The other bug, which is also publicly known, is I could have posted from anyone's profile to anyone's profile. So there were two parameters which were going sender and receiver in a public API endpoint of Facebook. So I could change user IDs which are publicly known to yours, and sender to yours, and receiver to Jasmin's. And Jasmin will receive a wall message or a status message from you on his wall. So that was kind of very serious issue. There were other bugs as well, which allowed me to access anyone's Facebook messages, but those are not known publicly right now.
okay. Since you are an ethical hacker, you directly reported to the Facebook, right?
Yes, so when we do
Yes.
security research, right, we try to make sure, uh, not try to, we always make sure that we test on our own test accounts. And by any chance,
Mm,
if uh, by some mistake, if some other user's data is accessed, then we let the company know in the report itself because it's unethical. So
right. Mm,
sometimes it happens because of some other API sending some extra data. But all
mm.
when we do hunting, we try to make sure we do it on our own test accounts.
Yeah, that's true. So that means that's a very important point, right? So before anyone start the bug bounty hunting, he has to be very careful about what are the terms and conditions and what are the different guidelines provided by the organization, right? And they have to be very
Yes,
careful about what are the in scope and what are the out scope items. That's very important,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. Yes, thanks. Uh, Jasmine, uh, uh, which is your favorite bug till now? So you have reported a lot of bugs, right? So which one you would consider as your the highest achievement or your toppest one?
I've get asked this question a lot, and I never know what to answer because some depends on the days. Uh, I think it's a bug where I had an XXS on an employee's laptop, not in a web
Okay.
page. Um, I've asked to talk about it, to actually make a blog post. The company designed, so I can't tell much about it. But like in the report itself, there was a comment from the CEO saying like, "What you found is amazing. You've
Mm,
made us change our own procedures and policies just because of what you found." Um,
mm,
so yeah, I confess I can't talk much about it, but it was a really cool bug.
mm,
So it was like a blind XSS that popped on the user's laptop
mm.
itself, on his MacBook. Um,
And uses laptop. Yeah, interesting.
Laptop, yeah. So the JavaScript was executing on his laptop. Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't escalate it to an RCE, but I was able to disclose a lot of sensitive information. Sorry, and which to them was really serious. Obviously, from what I saw, it was pretty bad. Um, so yeah, this is probably my favorite bug, just because of the bounty, twice the amount of the maximum in their bounty table. For example, if it was 5K their max, they actually gave me 10K. That wasn't it, but just an example. And also because the CEO actually logged into my report and mentioned a comment thanking me was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a what the biggest one, right? So the appreciation
To me,
directly from the
yeah.
CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's awesome, really. Yeah, Anand. So, which one you would consider as your topest achievement, the Facebook one or something else?
No, so
Because I
I would
read
like to
about
talk.
you were able to, yeah, you were able to travel anywhere in the world without paying anything to Uber.
Yeah, so the favorite bug of mine is the I found a bug in Twitter which allowed me to tweet from any account. So this bug,
Oh,
I
mm,
think I found it in 2018, and they had launched a new product named studio.twitter.com. So all the
mm,
APIs of the product were missing authorization checks. So I simply changed the sequential user ID to your ID or Elon Musk's ID, and a tweet will be posted from that account. So that bug was, I think, the coolest bug and the easiest bug as well. So just by just changing user ID, you could post from any Twitter profile in the world.
mm.
Though
Yeah,
there are multiple other bugs which I like. For example, the free Uber ride bug, logging into anyone's Tinder account, and
right.
logging into anyone's Uber account. So, but this one, the Twitter one, is kind of favorite, easiest one and favorite.
That's special for you, right? That's something special for you, the Twitter one.
Uh, Nothing
Yeah,
special actually.
yeah, it's good. Mm, okay, it's good, good. Uh, yeah. So next we can talk something about the current situation. Like so now the entire world is in a lockdown situation because of the COVID-19 pandemic and all. So recently, FBI and other law enforcement agencies come up with a statistics that there has been an increase of 400% of cyber crimes. Okay, because of the lockdown situations and all. And also what happened since it is a lockdown situation, most of the companies have started migrating their entire business to digital space, so they just accelerated their digitization process. At the same time, the companies are also encouraged to be a part of the bug bounty platform. So they are opening the platform to the security researchers to identify the bugs and send the report to the companies. What would be the advantages? What are the different advantages if an organization starts a bug bounty program for their infrastructures and applications? Jasmine?
It really helps on the security maturity. For example, a pen test, it's a good thing to do, but it's like a point in time assessment. So with companies like this, which always have changes in the environment, with a pen test, you won't see a change that happens a week from now. But with bug bounty, since you have people looking at your assets all the time, it means that you're constantly receiving bugs, which means you can patch your stuff faster. And so yeah, I think having like a bug bounty program like this definitely helps. So that way, also from what I noticed, bug bounty hunters have a better asset management than the companies themselves. So if you have like a wide scope of your infrastructure, chances are that the hackers will find stuff that you didn't even know that was still publicly accessible on the internet. So that way you can like remove it from internet, or patch it, or whichever is the best the best scenario for you, for the company. So yeah, I think it's obviously a good thing for programs for companies to have a bug bounty program. I wouldn't say necessarily to actually start one without analyzing if the company is able to do it, because I've seen companies who start a bug bounty program and then 2 hours later they just close it because they've just received too many reports, and then they just can't start a new one because they're afraid of what'll happen if it'll happen again. Or I also seen cases where the company didn't have any budget anymore to pay the researchers, so the platform had to pay a certain amount to the researchers. So yeah, it takes a lot. It takes some work to get started, to start a bug bounty program. Um, so if you have lots of knowledge and you know your procedures and policies are in place and follow them, then their company is probably good to start a bug bounty program then.
Yeah, so it will basically give a more value addition to the company, right?
Exactly, yeah. And also, like,
So,
partner companies tend to trust those companies that have a bounty program. They trust them more because they know they're trying to make their company more secure.
yeah, interesting. So, okay, so suppose one company is having a bug bounty program. Okay, so will it complements their internal security? Is something like if or one company is having a bug bounty program and saying it's not necessary to have a strong internal security. It's something like that, or is it something that we can accept?
I wouldn't say necessarily it helps in internal security. I think they still have to have a strong internal security to the company. Like a bug bounty program, most of the time is for external assets only, and sometimes they do interact with internal assets. So, anyways, but yeah, so having internal security is definitely needed. Because, for example, a blind XSS, sometimes you get an XSS that pops an internal asset. If the internal asset was properly patched or whichever, it can affect the company more or less, depending on the internal security. And actually, my talk about today with HackerOne talks a bit about that. One of the bugs that I found was that I got an RC on an internal asset. So yeah, it just shows that internal security is still important, and that it can't necessarily be achieved only with a bug bounty program. You still need to well, just because bug bounty programs are only for public assets most of the time. So yeah, having up-to-date systems and patch systems in internal network is definitely suggested.
So the aspects which are covering by the internal security and the bug bounty programs are totally different, right? It's
yeah,
in two
a
different
bit.
aspects, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anand, your opinion?
So yes, as Jasmin said, having bug bounty doesn't make any. So if you have an internal team, then it's very good, and only running bug bounty cannot make that company secure. So in addition to that, I would like to add that organizations should also run technical trainings for software developers. They should have automated security scanning in CI/CD with Jenkins and other pipelines, and they should also have a very good, strong security team in house. And in the end, there should be bug bounty program which is also responsible for figuring out vulnerabilities. So having these three, four things in place makes complete. Kind of ecosystem for security. Apart from that, there are incident management team, cloud security team, which takes care of all other assets. And the most important thing is, at the end of the day, it's the developer who is writing code. And if developer is not aware about basics of security, then you are kind of screwed. You will be seeing same mistake again and again. So we need to educate developers to make sure things are kind of more secure. And whenever a bug is reported in a bug bounty program, a proper RCA should be done, how that vulnerability was missed by all the internal security controls and how that can be prevented in future. So that will strengthen the organization security to a more extent, because nothing is kind of 100% secure. We learn from the
Yeah,
mistakes
right.
which we do while writing code. So that's my opinion.
That means learning from our mistakes, right? That is highly important.
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks. Okay. Uh, so in the market, like in currently we have an n number of automatic scanners, right? The vulnerability scanners, and most of the scanners are already inbuilt with the AI powered engine and all. So, so what do you think? Whether we can completely replace the human intelligence with the artificial intelligence in terms of the penetration testing? Uh, Start with Jasmin.
Well, not yet. I don't think so.
Hmm.
So I think as of now, those scanners don't have that human brain to know that a bug exists. For example, most of the times, us hackers, researchers, we chain bugs together to make a higher impact bug. Scanners don't necessarily, they're not able to chain those bugs together. They would simply report every single minor bug as a separate bug. I think this is where AI or end scanners are not up to date with the human brain yet.
That means in all the applications, it's having a logical limitations, right? That's the
Exactly. So
point.
just for iDoors, even Burp, it doesn't detect iDoors yet. You have to manually test them with extensions or by hand in Burp Repeater. So imagine bugs that have like a higher complexity of business logic. It obviously won't. I mean, not obviously, but it probably won't find that complex bug without the human brain to know what it's doing in the background.
Yeah, right. Anand, your thoughts on this topic?
Yes, so I agree completely with Jasmine, and obviously the scanners at now the scanners cannot replace human intelligence, and over the period of time, security researchers will make sure that is incorporated going forward. Most of them, but I don't think they can completely replace human intervention.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. Because the false positive is also another part, right? So in terms
Yes,
of scanners, right?
yes,
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Uh, so next one is related to the approach. So the normal pen testers and the bug bounty hunters approach would have some kind of difference, right? So the way in which they are approaching each and every problem, some and how they are identifying the bugs and all. So it is something essential for a pen tester to have a bug bounty experience. Will it give any advantage, Anand?
yes. So. I don't think so because pen tester may also be having the same kind of knowledge, and maybe they are not doing bug bounty because for some other reason. So so I don't think there will be there will be lot of difference, but obviously there can be small difference, like figuring during the information gathering phase, because when you are in bug bounty you get to practice a lot. But if the pen tester has done same level of obviously if she's a pen tester, he must have done same kind of uh, things in past too. So I don't think that really makes a difference.
Okay, thanks, Anand. Jasmine, your thoughts?
Yeah, a bit similar to what Anand said. Like, I think it can help if you do bug bounty. So it can help in your pen testing. But I don't think it's necessary to do bug bounty. But the other way around, doing pen testing can help you with your bug bounty as well. It's like for me, since I was doing both, since I did bug bounty, it helped me finding bugs in my pen test. And since I was finding bugs in my pen test, I had more confidence to find bugs in bug bounty programs, which I didn't before because it was always on production environments, which I thought was always secure. So it definitely, I think they get along with each other, and also from my own experience, I find that bug hunting is harder than pen testing, just because you're always testing on production environments most of the time, and because some bugs are not accepted in the bug boundaries, while it is in pen test, for example, missing security headers and stuff like that. In pen test, you're kind of supposed to report everything you see, even if it's informational and low. But in bug bounty, you can't report that by itself. You would have to chain it with something else. So with bug bounty, it just helps getting that experience to find bugs, to know what is impactful, and this can obviously apply to pen tests.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks, Jasmine. On another note, something like the bug bounty programs or the participation in bug bounty programs would help the people to um, understand the new trends, right? so knew the new way of attacks and all. They would be familiar with all those stuffs, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, for example, James Kettle, I think we all know him as Albino Axe. He's an excellent researcher. He always finds stuff while doing research on bug bounty programs. And then all of us bug bounty hunters, we apply his research everywhere we can in bug bounty programs and pen tests. So I think it's a good way of making research and finding new ways of attacking web applications.
Yeah. So for upskilling our skills, this would be the best platform, right?
I think so, yeah. Well, just because you get to see so many different technologies and bug bounty program for like with Java, PHP, Ruby on Rails, Node.js, there are just so many different technologies that are used. While in pentest, if you're always looking at the same company or similar companies, most of the time they always use the same stacks. So the learning curve is a bit slower, I'd say. While the bug bounty, you can just pick a company and you can learn something else, and then another company you'll learn another stack, and there's just so much to learn with bug bounty.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. Yeah. So recently, I read about one survey that was done by Bugcrowd, and they're stating it that the bug bounty programs can prevent the cyber crimes costing around 10 billion in 2019, and they are expecting to prevent the cyber crimes costing around 50 billion by 2025. So, how the bug bounty programs can prevent the cyber crimes? I would like to first. I would like to hear from you, Anand.
Yes. So when you have an active bug bounty program running, obviously you will end up the company will end up finding more and more critical issues reported by external researchers. So if there are issues which are leaking the entire company's data out there in public, they will be actively figured out by security researchers rather than waiting for a pen test to be done after 3 months of time or 6 months of time. So I think that is the most important point, and that's how bug bounty really helps. An active bug bounty program makes sure companies receive um uh, uh, bugs in real time and after release if they have active hackers on their program. So I think the report meant on the similar lines.
Yeah, that's true because see, if a new security bug is identified or released in the community, at the same time the researchers would be reporting it back to the company, right? So
Yes.
that's one of the main advantage. Yeah, Jasmine, your thoughts?
So yeah, I think I wouldn't necessarily say that it prevents cybercrime, as there are still people out there who report, they don't report, who find bugs and actually exploit it with a malicious intent. While us security researchers, we report it to protect the company and to get a bounty. So we're like the ethical hackers, while the cyber criminals, well, they don't care. They just sell it in the darknet or whatever. So, but with the bug bounty program though, um, it can change cyber criminals' intent. So since they know that with this bug they'll get a bounty, it's better to get a bounty than taking the chance to maliciously do something malicious with it and get caught eventually. So obviously the risk there is, in my opinion, is not worth taking. So I think with bug bounty programs, like I said, it definitely helps companies in terms of having ethical hackers find bugs, hopefully before the criminals do.
Yeah, so that will definitely help to like prevent the attacks to an extent, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks. Uh, Yeah, so the security researchers or bug bounty hunters are facing one of the main issue is burnout. Okay, so if one person send a report to any bug bounty programs, probably they will get two responses. Either it's a nice catch, other one is sorry, it's a duplicate. Someone else already reported it, right? So, so what would be your advice to the people who are starting their career in bug bounty, or they are already in bug bounty field to prevent the burnout issue? Yeah, Jasmine.
So first, just don't give up. Like I know at first it'll probably be hard to find valid bugs. So just don't give up. Work hard, read as much as you can, learn as much as you can, and eventually you'll find valid bugs and get bounties. But also you have to think like if you get a duplicate, that means someone else found it before. So what I would think is like, how would I find something that no one has found before? So like I would try to look at places that others would probably have missed, or probably they wouldn't have like thought about something, or just like for example GraphQL. Not a lot of people know GraphQL, so they try to ignore GraphQL. Um, so maybe learning GraphQL would be a good place to start, and then you'd find valid bugs. Um, so yeah, just like try to think where others haven't looked, so that I could get my first valid bug.
Yeah, that's interesting because the time is the important factor, right?
Yeah,
As soon as
so
we are
exactly, yeah.
and we are reporting,
And also like most of the time duplicates are for low hanging fruit. Like I've had duplicates for P1s which suck, but they're pretty rare. So most of the time for duplicates, like I said, it's for low hanging fruit or easy to find bugs, and the ones that have a less higher impact. So I would say, I know at the beginning it's hard. I have to admit it's not going to be easy. But if you try to find bugs that have a higher impact, by learning the application, taking your time, not trying to go as fast as you can to find something. Just take your time, learn the application, learn how it works, and then you might have that like obscure business logic bug, which can have obviously a high impact, which most of the time is not going to be a duplicate if it's still there. So yeah, I think just having that mindset of like, how do I find something that no one has looked for, and so yeah, that's what I would
yeah.
suggest for starters.
So the OICP, so for the OICP certification, there is one tagline, right? Try harder.
Exactly.
That would be
That's
the
pretty
best
much it. Yeah.
motivate. Yeah, okay, that's good. Anand, your take on this?
Yes, so the first rule is don't give up. The second is
Anand, we lost you, I think.
hello,
Hello? Yeah, yeah.
hello.
Anand, we can hear you, but we lost your video. Yeah, Jasmin, let him come back.
Yep.
Okay,
Sure.
so according to your opinion, what would be the best method to keep up, keep us updated with the current technology and trends?
So for me, my main resource is Twitter. I think some people have lots of knowledge in certain areas, so following those people can definitely help stay up to date. Reading tons of blog posts, reading write-ups, reading HackerOne, Hac'KP, and Bugcrowd, crowdsource, or CrowdStream, I think it's called. Like just staying up to date with all the technologies as well. Like you have to uh, be signed up to RSS feeds, just like companies or websites, sorry, that have like that knowledge when something is new. Following all the CVEs, just following as much as you can. Like I usually take like a few hours per week where I just reading new stuff, reading new CVs that have come out, reading blog posts, stuff like that, watching videos as well, where I can learn as much as I can and stay up to date with all the technology trends that have been changing.
So the continuous learning would be the best one, right?
Exactly, especially in security. Like everything changes within a day. Like we have updates on stuff every single day. Even for bug bounty programs, there's continuous change. A company can deploy code a few times per day, and it's just continuous learning, and just staying up to date with everything is the best way to obviously stay up to date with security.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Anand, we lost you in between, so you can continue your opinion.
Yes, so first rule is don't give up. Second rule is add some intelligence during the bug bounty process. Intelligence in the sense, so while I was finding bugs on Facebook override, I used to read about, subscribe to newsrooms of these respective companies. So whenever they release a new feature, I used to start testing immediately. So those are the basic things which would speed up your entire bug bounty process. You can also write your own automation where you get alerted on new subdomains, new apps, which are listed on Play Store, App Store, and adding intelligence will definitely help. And duplicates are always part of the entire process. So, and as Jasmin said, you won't get duplicates in high priority security flaws most of the time. So, if you want to learn more, I would recommend you to stop finding low hanging fruits and focus more on medium and high priority issues. Because I also went through that process, and every hacker goes through that process, finding low priority issues first during the early career and then to other high severity issues.
Okay, so we have to aim or like aim the big one, right?
Yes, try learning, try to focus on authorization related issues, SSRF issues, XML injections in the very beginning. So, not everyone is good at finding these kind of issues. So, you will probably have more window to figure out that issue.
And always to be updated with what are the things happening across us, right? That is also highly
Yes,
important.
updates are very very important in security industry. So if you are using an antivirus, right, and if it doesn't, if you don't update it, it becomes outdated. So if you don't
Yeah,
read HackerOne's activity or Twitter blogs, you become outdated. So you need to make sure you are up to dated with everything which is happening in the industry.
yeah, because day to day we are get like we are like the industry is getting new technologies, right? So at
Yes,
the same time, the attacks is also like improving by using those technologies.
yes, agreed.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Anand, for your insight. Yeah. So next one, like the highly special question to you. So I will start with Anand. So how can you manage your regular job and bug bounty handling, let's say the bug bounty handling together?
Yes, so as I said earlier, so from Monday to Friday, I am mainly on my office things, and on weekends, I try to figure out few hours, 6 7 hours, and try to figure out security flaws. And I don't burn myself if I'm not finding anything. I don't get disappointed, and that's very important
Hmm.
thing, because you shouldn't get disappointed if you're not finding anything. Try on next weekend, and that's it.
Yeah. Jasmine, we would love to hear your opinion.
Yeah, similar to what Anand said, like don't get disappointed if you don't find anything, or even just like take a break, go take a walk, go take a shower, go do physical activity, and then come back, and then maybe you'll think of something while you're doing your other activity, and yeah, so
Hmm.
similar to what Anand said, like I now hack, well, consider it full time. I work a few days per month only. Um, since I love hacking, I can hack like day and night, which I try to not do because then I would get burnt out. But yeah, I can. I have days where I don't find any bugs, but I don't give up. I just work harder and try to find that bug the next day. And if it doesn't happen, then that means my brain is maybe tired. So I would take a break for a certain time, a day or two. If I need a larger break, I take a week or a month off and of bug bounty, and then I would start the next month. And I've actually done this like twice this year. Every time I come back,
Hmm.
I find new bugs, so I think it works. It works well. Just make sure that you're not burnt out and take a break when you think you need to.
So basically, the freshness of mind is highly important, right?
Yes. So people like us hackers, like we tend to not sleep much because we hack at night. I think that's a very bad idea because sleep is important for humans. Like we need sleep and we need to be fresh when we start because that way our mind is fresh and ready. While if we don't sleep, well, we get tired, we can't concentrate well, we won't find bugs, and this is when we get disappointed and start to give up, which is obviously not the thing to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Right point, right? So having a good sleep actually will help us to find the solution for most of the problems.
Mm-hmm. And it's happened to me like twice or three times actually. I've actually thought of an idea of while I was sleeping. So when I woke up, I like took note of it on my cell, and then the next morning when I woke up for real, then I went on the computer, exploited the bug, and reported it. So sometimes, like just because you hack during the day doesn't mean that you won't like find the bug. I had, like I said, I had bugs where I actually thought about it while I was sleeping or dreaming or whatever, and they eventually worked the next day when I went to my computer and found it. So yeah, getting sometimes you get ideas of how to exploit things while you're sleeping.
Yeah, so that's like it's a real fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Jasmin, for your insights. Uh, yeah, so next one to Anand. So you were featured in the Forbes 30 under 30 the recognition, right? So how do you feel at that time when you be in the 30 under 30 by Forbes, or we would like to know about your journey to that point.
Yes. So the moment I saw email from Forbes that morning, right, it was completely different kind of a feeling. So if I when you talk about that, right, I still have that feeling as well. So the journey was kind of I worked with Flipkart in the early stages of my career, and I also had very great contribution in bug bounty programs of Facebook, Uber, Twitter. At that point of time, I was ranked among top five, second, third most of the time in these bounty programs till 2017. And apart from that, I started another company at that point of time after leaving Flipkart to basically secure Indian as well as Asian startups to make sure their data is safe and secure. So I got lot of traction because of that, and we ended up securing whole lot of startups. So that helped us to get featured into that list. And obviously, the bugs which I discovered during my entire career had impact on billions of user data. Those could have been used by any government agencies across the world to misuse, or any other organization to misuse. So that helped a lot to reach at that stage, I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thanks, Anand. Uh, yeah. So next one actually about um, uh, any advice to the bug bounty hunters, especially to the beginners. Anand.
Yes. So the first and foremost thing which I see lacking in bug bounties beginners these days is ethics. So try to show respect to companies who are running these programs. I see a lot of public reports which are disclosed, and I see a lot of disrespect over there. That is the first thing which new beginners should improve upon. They should maintain ethics during the entire process. Second thing is, don't get disappointed if you find any duplicates. If you don't find a valid bug, don't get disappointed. Try to look out for vulnerabilities in vulnerability disclosure program, or the programs which are offering Hall of Fames, rather than directly going for programs which are offering reward. That will help you to become motivated, because it will be easier for you to figure out vulnerabilities in a program which is running Hall of Fame versus the reward program. So these are the two things, and third is try to learn some basic coding. You can learn latest things like Golang, Node.js, GraphQL. So a lot of companies are moving to new technologies, and it will make sure you don't get outdated with the trends.
Yeah, thanks, Anand, for your suggestions. Over to Jasmin, your advice
I
to our beginners.
I think now beginners they think that that hacking is easy because I often see like on Twitter that some people had 10K bounty and all that stuff. So they think it's easy, but it's definitely not. So they often ask for like, hey, what's the best? How do you do this? How do you hack this? I think the best thing to do is actually like look it up yourself and read about it. This is how you learn. And I think they always trying to have like that easy bug, but that's not how it works. Like you need to work hard. Like I think people underestimate how reading is important. I think watching videos like on YouTube is nice, but I think for me anyways, personally, I read some books. I read as a lot for a year, and it helped a lot. And I think learning the basics first is the best thing. For example, if you want to learn, I don't know, an XSS, learn JavaScript. This is like the best thing to do. That way, you'll be able to bypass filters and WAFs easily if you know how JavaScript works and if you know how to code it. Same thing for other programming languages like PHP, Node, or whichever. So obviously, having a bit of coding knowledge definitely helps. It is not required, but I strongly suggest it. As myself, I didn't know how to code when I started, which is maybe why I had a rough start. But since then, I learned a bit. I'm actually coding in my own application at the moment, which will automate all of my recon. And I'm not an expert, but I know a bit how to code, and I think it definitely helps in finding bugs. So yeah, I think at first, like for beginners, just read as much as you can, look up for information yourself, and learn the basics.
Yeah, thanks, Jasmine, for the insights. Uh, yeah, so we have received certain questions from our audience, uh, so we can take one by one. I hope I'm audible to you, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So the one question is, what all skills should a bug bounty hunter have? How fast or analytical he or she should be? It's a question from Amish. Um, Anand, you can take the question.
Yes. So, as discussed earlier, right, you should know how to do information gathering. If you are completely, so there are three things which you can opt for. One is mobile app security, then second is network security, then third is web application security / API security, then there is cloud security as well. So, given on the expertise which you have, you can start with basics of that specific field and try to figure out vulnerabilities. So let's say if you have expertise in mobile app security, Android, you can try doing static analysis of the mobile app and try to figure out basic things like hard-coded credentials, missing permissions on broadcast receivers, intents. So these are some of the basic things. If you have expertise in API security, then you can try to figure out issues related to APIs such as authorization related issues, SQL injections. So these kind of issues you can try to figure out. And if you have very good expertise in network security, then you can try to figure out open ports, the vulnerable versions of machines which are running of a company, and then try to exploit specific vulnerabilities related to that.
Okay. Thanks, Anand. So another question is, there are multiple bug bounty hunting programs. If a newbie wants to start bug hunting, what would be the starting point? Jasmine?
I think, like we've discussed a bit earlier, I think starting on vulnerability disclosure programs that don't pay, I think is the best place to start for newbies. Just for the learning curve, like you'll learn more on VDPs because most of the time they're pretty large, they have a large scope, and also because nobody else, or not nobody else, the top researchers don't look at them necessarily, so the chances of you finding a bug on VDPs are, in my opinion, a bit higher. So once you find a bug on a VDP, sometimes you get invites to private programs which actually pay, which have less people looking at, meaning you also have a higher chance of finding a bug on there as well. So I think VDPs is a good place to start, just to learn how to hack. Like you can literally try anything you want, um, and I think it's honestly the best place to start, just to learn. I think we lost
Can you
Adarsh.
hear me? Uh,
Hello?
yes, we can
Yes,
hear you.
you're back. Yeah.
Yeah, I lost a bit way. Sorry. Yeah. So, should bug hunting as a full time or getting a job in security and doing bug hunt side? Yeah, Anand, you can take the question.
Yes, so it means you are. I don't think most of the bugs will get duplicate if you try finding high severity issues, because most of the high severity issues are fixed by companies within 24 hours of time or lesser than that. It depends on the company. So try to focus on high quality vulnerabilities rather than spending time on figuring out issues like missing security headers or even lower severity issues. So and yes, obviously, if you want to get away, if you don't have a full time job right now, you can get a full time job and parallelly do bounties on weekends, because you will learn new things in the job, and then you can apply same in your bug bounty process.
And to add to the answer, I think going full time first is not necessarily a good idea. Well, depends on your situation. Like if you live with your parents and you don't need to pay a rent for your house, well, that's fine. But for me, like going full time, I had to make sure that I was able to get enough money to pay my house, pay family, pay all the bills, pay the car, all that stuff. So obviously, getting a job first is just definitely a suggestion. But once you're ready to go full time and you know you can make enough money to pay everything that you need to every month, then it's a good option.
Yeah, thanks, Jasmine. So another one question from Sujit is, now everything is moving to cloud, right? It's a good or bad news for bug bounty hunters as compared to the on-prem, or is it same? Yeah, Jasmine.
I don't think for bug bounty hunters it changes much for us. I think it really just depends on the company if they prefer having their assets on the cloud or on premise. But for us researchers, well, for me anyways, it doesn't change much. Obviously, when I see stuff on AWS, I obviously go for it because I know if I have an SRF, I can potentially get the IAM access keys, which is always interesting. But I don't necessarily have a preference for hackers. Like no one is not one is bad, not one is good. Like they're just equal.
Okay, interesting. Anand, anything to add on the same point?
I think I'm good with this. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So another one question from Gaurang is, I have seen so many organizations who charge some thousands of money for training. Is it worth to invest the money, or can you suggest the best resource to start learning as being a beginner? Yeah, Anand.
Yes. So you can go for trainings. You can try looking at the curriculum or the scope of it by trainings. But to very frank, you can also learn by googling or by looking at researchers blogs, as well as by following a very basic approach. For example, you can list down all the OS top 10s of web and mobile and try targeting a single category at a time. Try reading, for example, if the category is authentication slash authorization, you can try to figure out all the issues, all the articles related to authentication slash authorization category. So that will also help. Training, it depends, but I would prefer more of googling thing, and then practicing on Pentester Academy, reading blogs by the bug bounty platforms, as well as the security researchers.
Yeah, because a lot of resources are already available in the internet, right? So just make
Yes,
use of it, right?
everything is
Yeah.
available online. So
Mm. So I think the HackerOne's activity also a good resource, right?
best
The people can
resource.
understand how the people are identifying the bugs and how they are reporting and all, right? Yeah. And there are a lot of videos are also available in the YouTube, like free of cost and all. Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Anand. So another one question from Sushmita is, what are the good books recommended for a starter to um begin?
For me, I read web. What's it called again? I think web. Anna, do you know the name?
Application Hackers Handbook.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's definitely the best book. That and the one from Peter Jaworski. I think it's called Real Hunting. No,
Yes, by
Web
Hacker.
Hacking 101.
Yeah,
He has like a hardcover version of the book now. So that book is all of course, also an interesting one.
Okay. Yeah. So how the hack the box challenges would help the people to improve their skills?
I think, well, the first book, it goes deep into every single vulnerability type. So you get to learn how it works, how to find it, and how to exploit it. And knowing that, it's easier to find bugs while bug hunting. And the second one, Web Hacking 101, that one is real examples of bugs that have been exploited on bug bounty programs. And the author goes through like the steps that the researcher went through to find the bug. So it really gives like a nice perspective on their thought process and how they eventually found the bug.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Interesting. Yeah, that's another like interesting question. How much it is important to have a certification in our hand to start our career in cybersecurity? Is certification matters or the real skill matters?
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So the real skills matter, obviously, but if you are willing to pursue any certificate, you can go for OSCP. Uh, that's the that's a very good certificate which is out there. But if you parallelly, if you have very good Hall of Fames or bug bounty expertise in finding vulnerabilities in Amazon, Uber, Salesforce, or any other big MNC, right? Then I don't think certification. Obviously, certification add values, but you can also go via the bug bounty route.
Right. Yeah, Jasmin.
So for bug bounty certifications, I don't think it matters much. I would only do a certification to learn, but since certification we usually have to pay, I would choose another option of learning. But to get a job, I think it does help. Like since I had my OSCP, I only had a job in security, more probably because of it, because the OSCP is like a practical exam, so it shows that if you're able to pass the exam, that you can actually hack. So yeah, I think to get a job, certifications help, but I wouldn't say it's mandatory. But it is like a good thing to do if you want to get into security and want a job in security.
Okay. So another one question from Abel. It's in OICP we have to hack systems with limited time, isn't it? So he's trying to understand like the how the OICP exam is or how he can
yeah.
take the OICP certification.
So the labs, you can choose between 30, 60, or 90 days. And the labs is like you can hack anytime you want. There's no time limit. But the exam, it does have a 24-hour limit. And I'm not sure if it's changed since I did it 4 years ago. But for me, it was I had to hack 5 VMs or 5 machines in 24 hours. And each machine is awarded separate, different points. For example, you could have one machine which is 25 while the other is 10. So yeah, so also like if you're root, then you get all points. But if you only have limited access to the machine, then you only get half of the points. So you have to have the passing score, which I think is 70 now or 75. I forgot the passing score. But you would need to have a root at least on 3 machines to be able to pass the exam. So on 24 hours.
Okay. Another one question from Akshay. Which tool should a beginner start with?
I have one word for that. Burp Suite.
Yes.
Burp Suite, yeah.
Edition.
Yeah, Anand, your call. Same Burp Suite or you have some other
Burp Suite
suggestion?
Community Edition.
Sorry, Burp Suite?
Burp Suite Community Edition.
Yeah.
Community Edition, yeah.
You
So
can,
then
then
you
after
can
that
upgrade
you
to
can
Pro.
paid version, but Community Edition is the best one to start with.
Yeah. So how much the Kali Linux operating system would help the people?
It comes with preloaded tools, so it doesn't really matter a lot if you install those same set of tools in Mac OS. Then that's also fine. I think Adarsh dropped.
Yeah. I'm just going to add to the answer of that. So I personally don't use Kali Linux, but for the OSCP, like, of course, you need Kali Linux. But for bug bounty hunting and pen testing, it's not necessary. Like I just use a Ubuntu server, and I also have a MacBook. So depending on what I do, I use separate tools in separate places. But I prefer installing everything from GitHub and just doing a git clone of the tool I'm trying to download.
Yeah. So next one is I want to know for someone who wants to start ethical hacking and has no background in it, is it a good idea to start? So we already discussed about the point, right? Yeah. Jasmin, you can take the question.
Sure. So yeah, obviously, like if you want to do it, go ahead. Like you're the one who wants to, who knows what you want to do. If you want to do, like it's never too late. Like just start learning, and start practicing, and read as much as you can, learn as much as you can, and eventually you'll be good at it. So it's just a matter of be willing to take that time and learn to be able to start hacking.
Yeah, so I think the questions we have covered almost all the questions. Yeah, so we covered. So it was an incredible interaction and it's a very fruitful session. Uh, like I have no words to say because we received a tremendous amount of what really excellent advice from you both. I strongly believe that this will definitely help the people to start their career or the people already in the bug bounty field. They can improve themselves with good practices and all. Um, it's a pleasure to have you both for this panel discussion. Um, on behalf of Hac'KP, I extend our sincere thanks to both of you for being with us today. Thanks for your time, and it was really a nice session. Thanks, Jasmin, and thanks, Anand.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Yeah, and so thanks to all attendees for your time. And if you have any additional queries, you can reach to Jasmin and Anand through their LinkedIn or Twitter handles. You can get them. You can get their profiles from the LinkedIn and Twitter. You can directly reach them if you want more clarification or if you want any advice to build a career or build your expertise in the Bounty field. So, attendees. We have scheduled our next session on next webinar on 4th August at 7 p.m. IST on a topic how to run an AppSec program with open source tool. Ms. Vandana Verma, who is the Global Board of Directors at Avast Foundations, would be taking the session. See you all again on August 4. And once again, thanks for being with us for this session. Stay safe and thank you.
Thank you.